How authoritarian is the European Union? Is it fair to ask such a question? After all, the European Union was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and is self-proclaimed sentinel of freedom and peace in the Western world. For many outsiders, but surprisingly to many insiders as well, the European Union is successful in hiding its true undemocratic structure that is deeply entrenched into national democracies of each member state. How possibly could such a peace-loving organization have a deeply authoritarian mechanism that actually acts as the biggest threat to Western democracy and not vice versa as it self-promotes? The European Union is a mess on purpose. Bear with me, the information presented here will keep getting worse gradually towards the end of this video. Well, let's start with how the laws are made in the EU. You might think this is easy, right? You vote for your local representatives, they form a parliament, they vote for laws, and form the government to act upon them. Not so easy, son. Democracy started out as a small project realized in ancient Greek city-states the size of modern small towns. And even though modern democracy is a nationwide project, states are usually divided up into smaller electable units, districts, regions, cantons, departments, to help people better keep the government in check. Democracy is best achieved through the principle of localization, where people in town halls, local organizations, and public referendums can know who they are voting for and can directly influence their representatives. The European Union took the beautiful concept of democracy and turned it into Pablo Picasso's cubism, in which nobody knows
what the hell is going on.
The legislative power in the European Union is shared between the Parliament and the Council, none of which can propose a legislative initiative. The only directly elected body is the European Parliament, which cannot make any laws of its own. Let that sink in for a moment. This is just a start, and we've already shown that the citizens of EU have no way to check on the legislature of the European Union, of which laws have greater power than their own state laws. What a great way to start. Democracy works only with the separation of powers between legislative, executive and judiciary branch, all of which are supposed to be governed by different bodies of the government. In the European Parliament, European Commission, which has been granted all executive power of the Union, is also the only body with the power to make legislative initiatives. And this is where things start to get really weird. Whenever the Commission wants to make a law for other EU member states, its proposal is submitted to the Parliament and the Council, who then throw the initiative back and forth among each other to bypass multiple attempts of rejection. There can be up to 3 readings in both European Parliament and European Council separately. The final word is given by the Council, none of which members are elected by the people. At no point of this legislative procedure can the citizens of the European Union make any contribution to or influence the process in their favor. Yet they are still subject to contribute a portion of their tax money to fund the EU because the Union doesn't have any budget of its own. So the people who end up paying for this cannot participate in forming their European government and don't have any means to keep its power in check. People, or the Parliament as well, can only politely ask the Commission to hear their opinions, but none of them requires the Commission to act upon them or make an initiative. The only way people can start the legislative procedure is if the European Commission accepts a citizen's initiative. This is done by gathering 1 million votes from at least 7 member states. 1 million votes.
Who the fuck can do that?
The citizens' initiative bears no power, as the European Commission is not obliged to propose legislation as a result of an initiative. Democracy is not a majority rule, but a rule by the people. It means that every group and individual is to be represented equally and their rights protected properly. Thus, a culturally stable nation-state is the best haven for the functioning of democracy. The European Union is a direct opposite of that. The composition of members of the European Parliament is biased against the majority of nation-states. Through this proportionate allocation of seats, you could count 6 biggest EU countries: Germany, France, Italy, United Kingdom, Spain and Netherlands, and you would already have 392 votes, a simple majority in the parliament of 747 members. Members of the parliament are not affiliated by their nationality, but by their political membership in some of the pan-European political parties, none of which are founded by the public. That's why the EU establishment was so pissed after Brexit, because now 69 votes of the United Kingdom need to be replaced with at least 3 other smaller states. Luckily, adding Sweden, Austria and non-state of Belgium would grant them comfortable 382 votes. The reason why this is a problem problem is because these states tend to form a coalition to vote for proposals in common agreement. So in the end, people in the remaining 22 states are governed by a small group of people from electorates with whom they have nothing in common. And because European law overrides state law, constituencies of European nation states are in gradually greater and greater scale governed by the laws they did not ask for and made by the people they did not vote for. People from the capital of Slovenia are made to follow and accept the same decisions and agendas as people from rural Denmark. These people have no history, they are from different cultures, they have no reason to be forced under one government. And now the scariest part of this video. And this is going to be unbelievable to many non-Europeans. The biggest decision-making and agenda-setting powers are within the hands of unelected bodies that are known to make common decisions. The President of the European Commission is appointed by the European Council, an unelected branch formed of unelected leaders from each member state. The President then selects his 7 vice presidents and all commissioners based on the nominees approved by the European Council. They all have to be approved by the European Parliament, which, as we have shown earlier, is in the hands of 6 or 7 biggest European countries. The European Commission also makes informal co-decisions that take internationally binding form with the European Central Bank and the International Monetary Fund, the group also referred to as Troika. Troika has been acting on behalf of the European Union to dictate policies to directly elected governments of the Eurozone countries. To introduce you to these new bodies, say hello to the European Central Bank, which makes decisions in the Governing Council made of 6 executive members and 19 governors from central banks of Eurozone countries. None of them are elected. And this is International Monetary Fund, which is not even part of the European Union and is headquartered in Washington DC. Yet they still had the power to dictate to the Greek people what to do with their democracy. The European Union doesn't have the legitimacy of its people. The public doesn't trust it because the mechanisms of the Union make it hard to follow and understand on regular basis.
Who are you? I'd never heard of you. Nobody in Europe had ever heard of you. I would like to ask you, President, who voted for you? And what mechanism? Oh, I know democracy is not popular with you lot. And what mechanism do the peoples of Europe have to remove you? Is this European democracy? Well, I sense, though, that you're competent and capable and dangerous. And I have no doubt that it's your intention to be the quiet assassin of European democracy and of the European nation states.
You might still think that the European Union, despite its democratic deficit, is a good organization. It works effectively, has good policies, no corruption, and good intentions that it executes effectively. Without wasting too much of your time, here are just some of the top examples that happened in the past. The European Union has been proclaimed the one successful organization for sustaining peace in Europe, but that attribution is false. What's keeping peace in Europe is trade and democracy, both of which the European Union is threatening with its strict market regulations and undemocratic mechanisms in place. So to get back to the original question of this video, how authoritarian is the European Union? From scale 1 to 11, with 1 being the least and 11 the most authoritarian, I would rate it a solid 9. The European Union is deeply undemocratic organization where bureaucrats and technocrats play God without asking for permission. The more it follows its mission, the further away it gets from the pillars of the free world. The European Union doesn't hold a monopoly on free movement, nor free trade, nor peace, nor economic prosperity, nor jobs growth, nor food security for Europe. There are viable alternatives that would work better and would coexist perfectly with democracy. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this analysis. I was really playing for quite a long time to make this piece on the European Union. I think it's very important that we talk about it because I really think that democracy is under threat, and if people don't stand for it, we are going to lose it without realizing it. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, and feel free to share my work if you feel like it. See you later.